Hello, Monday evening. Welcome to North West Tonight with Roger Johnson. Thanks for joining us this evening. Our top story. The Prime Minister visits Gorton and Denton, describing Thursday's by-election as a two-horse race with Reform UK.
This by-election is about basic values. Values of unity over division, of bringing people together, over tearing them apart.
Most bookmakers have the Green Party slight favourites to win Thursday's vote. Also tonight, could you soon have to pay to play in the lakes? Calls to charge cars entering the national park. Passengers react to the Piccadilly upgrade, a 9-day closure and an £8 million investment at the North's busiest station.
For the latest in our My Story series, what is a demolished pub in Hythe, some public playing fields, the Shah of Iran and this lot got in common.
And it's not officially meteorological spring until Sunday, but the temperatures are certainly feeling quite spring-like this week. But will we get the dry weather and maybe a bit of sunshine to match? Join me at the end of the programme. I'll have the full forecast.
The Prime Minister was campaigning in Manchester today ahead of Thursday's Gorton and Denton parliamentary by-election, and he thinks the poll is a straight race between Labour and Reform UK. Sir Keir Starmer accused his opponents of tearing communities apart as he met party members with just days to go on the campaign trail. Kevin Fitzpatrick has this report.
This is a by-election that Labour can't afford to lose, and it will be some fall from grace if they do. They won here with a 13,000 majority at the general election 2 years ago, but both Reform UK and the Green Party are talking up their chances of taking it.
And we must never forget what happened in Runcorn, where but for a handful of Labour votes, we got a Reform Member of Parliament. We must never let that happen again. No.
With Reform UK riding high in the national polls, the Prime Minister was clear where he thinks their main challenge is coming.
This by-election is about basic values. Values of unity over division, of bringing people together, over tearing them apart. And it is a straight fight between Labour and Reform, between the only party that can bring communities together, that wants to bring communities together, and Reform, which wants to tear them apart, the complete opposite of what these communities need. So this is a really important election. It is all about the values, and let hope win over hostility.
You must accept that a lot of people are upset with your government, and this will be a chance to tell you that.
Well, this is about what this government is doing. That Labour Party, which stands with these communities, represents these communities, brings people together, is turning around our NHS, turning around our economy, improving our public services.
David, all right, mate, yeah. At the start of the campaign, Labour controversially stopped Andy Burnham from running, a decision some in the party think they could come to regret.
You blocked Andy Burnham from standing here. Do you take responsibility if you lose?
Andy Burnham is a fantastic mayor in Manchester, and he's been out here campaigning as well. And therefore, you've had the Prime Minister, you've had cabinet members, you've had party members, a brilliant candidate, all pulling together because we all know what's at stake here.
Whatever the result in this by-election, it'll be viewed as a verdict on Keir Starmer and his Labour government. The fact that he's come here with just days to go suggests he thinks they can win it. Kevin Fitzpatrick, BBC North West Tonight, Levenshulme.
There are a total of 11 candidates standing. This is a list of all of them. We've heard from many of them during the course of the campaign, of course. Polling day is on Thursday. You can find more details about each and every one of them and the latest news at bbc.co.uk/Manchester. Right, here are some of the other stories that are making headlines in the North West tonight. And Merseyside Police is using live facial recognition at a football match for the first time right now, as Everton prepare to host Manchester United at Hill Dickinson Stadium this evening. It's intended to help identify people wanted for serious offences or court orders. A 10-day bus drivers' strike on the Isle of Man is causing disruption for passengers. A limited service is running, but some say poor communication has left them frustrated. Members of the Unite Union have walked out in a dispute with the Department of Infrastructure on the island. And Manchester's Wunmi Mosaku won a BAFTA for the Best Supporting Actress for the film Sinners last night. The 39-year-old, who went to school in Hume, says that the response from black women feeling seen from her role has made her feel a sense of kinship.
I found a part of myself in Annie, a part of my hopes, my ancestral power and connection, parts of myself I thought I'd lost or tried to dim as an immigrant trying to fit in.
Congratulations to her. Now, families across the Northwest with children who have special educational needs and disabilities are right now digesting the government's proposed changes to the system. An extra investment of almost £4 billion will go into early support from April this year. 1.6 will go to early years, including childcare to schools and colleges. 1.8 billion will be given to expert professional support, such as speech and language therapists or educational psychologists. The rest of the money will go to family hubs and to local authorities. Children's needs will be reassessed in year 6, that's from autumn 2029 onwards, before they go to secondary school.
What it does do is place education and vulnerable young people right at the very top of government agenda. And I think that's something, obviously, I would very much support. I think the difficulty comes when you look at the detail then of what's included in those plans and how that's going to translate to parents, to school staff. A lot of that is unknown at the moment.
So let's try and get some answers. Dr. Charlotte Bagnall is a senior lecturer in education and psychology at the University of Manchester. She's here. Thank you, Charlotte, first of all, for coming in. Some of the work you did fed into the thinking behind this Green Paper. What do you make of it?
No, thank you for having me. So I think it's fantastic, firstly, that educational transitions are recognised in this legislation, because transitions are critical periods for children and young people, but also their parents as well. They face many different changes, so changes in their school environment, academic expectations, social interactions, which are exciting, but they can also be quite worrisome as well. So it's great that sort of recognition has been made to the significance of transition. But for children with special educational needs and disability, children experience additional structural changes in support during this transition period. So I think acknowledging that is really important.
And the thing that, this thing called an Education, Health and Care Plan, an EHCP, is a legally binding thing that up till now schools have had to enact and give the level of support. They've doubled in a decade. That's unsustainable, isn't it? But that's the point at which they're going to be reviewed, that transition that you're an expert in between primary and secondary. Many parents will be worried about that.
Yeah, definitely. And what's outlined in the white paper is that they're going to be reassessed when children transition between primary school and secondary school. And this might enable those reassessments to be in line with children's developmental needs, but also I suppose it's acknowledging some of those discontinuities children are likely to experience at secondary school. So it will enable those needs to be assessed through a secondary school lens, in line with what children might actually need when they transition to secondary school as well.
Those EHCPs, though, are going to be the top of the tree, and there are going to be other layers now and other supports put in place that maybe aren't legally binding, actually, some of them. That's going to worry families, isn't it? But the children will be assessed younger now, is that right? Yeah, so it's the aim is to take a more early intervention preventative approach, which is, I suppose, something we're advocating within our research as well. So we've developed our team at the University of Manchester a scale which is called the Primary to Secondary School Emotional Wellbeing Scale, or PS-WELS for short. And this scale identifies, what aspects of the transition children might need more support with. Is that something parents can access for themselves? At the moment, it's at the validation stage, so we've got just under 9,000 children across the country who've fed into this research and taken part in the scale. But anyway, it enables us to identify who might be particularly vulnerable during this time, and then what universal support might be needed on a whole class basis, but also what targeted support as well. And this will be particularly important when thinking about that communication between systems and stakeholders, particularly for children with SEND, but also in being able to, I suppose, exchange that information between schools and systems as well. Thank you for coming in. We could talk about this all evening, couldn't we? Because there's so much to talk about, but we're really grateful for you bringing your expertise to it. Dr. Charlotte Bagnall from the University of Manchester. Now, if you are heading to the Lake District anytime soon, how would you feel about being charged to drive into the national park? Well, some tourist businesses want the government to consider the idea rather than a levy on staying overnight. Ed Hanson's got more on this for us.
Even in February, you can see why around 18 million people came here last year. But with those numbers, how also can it be protected and sustained? One idea, paying to bring your car.
As a tourist, I think I'd be happy to pay that.
If it helps manage the problem, then I guess a small charge wouldn't go amiss.
What do you think of the idea of paying to bring your car into the Lake District?
I don't really mind that at all. I think when you're using the facilities and you've got all these wonderful assets around, I think giving something back in that sense is absolutely fine. I wouldn't quibble with that.
I think if there was a proper way of a sustainable travel way in here, with buses or trains, then it would be an option, but there isn't really another option than coming in a camper van if you're stopping at a campsite that charges you a lot of money for 3 nights.
Last week, a government consultation closed on paying a tourist tax, a bit extra for you staying overnight. Here in Keswick, a meeting of business owners revealed the car option was preferred.
80% of the people are day trippers, and therefore it would mean that we would get probably more income in there. And we're talking the millions of pounds just by a levy of, say, £1 or £2.
Here we are in our main house auditorium, looking out from the stage into the auditorium.
It's not a new idea, but raises a lot of questions for places like this, such as how do you define a day tripper?
What we are mindful of is that there are plenty of locals who live outside the National Park in Cumbria, but who visit the National Park for local facilities, essential services and cultural attractions like our own. And what we wouldn't want would be to penalise those locals, our local audience, and discourage them from coming.
The government has no plans to consult on a car levy at the moment, something businesses want to change. But so far, everyone is agreed on what the prize should be.
As long as the money that's raised in Keswick could be spent in Keswick, I think people would be quite happy. But with the vehicle levy, you can only spend it on things to do with vehicles. So it's bus routes or cycle paths and things like that. Whereas the bed tax, we might be able to build a new swimming pool, for instance, which is what everybody in town wants.
At Easter, this World Heritage Site will be a much busier place, and inevitably there'll be more discussions on how that can be managed and who pays. Ed Hanson, BBC North West Tonight in the Lake District.
We're going to stay in the Lakes as we take a look at some of the other stories that people are reading this evening from BBC News. And the man behind Kendall's dry ski slope says it's only a matter of time before an Olympian comes from the club. His name's John Lowther. He's 89. He helped to build the dry ski slope back in 1984. A public event's being planned for the 12th of March to discuss the future of Buxton's Opera House. The Grade 2 listed building opened in 1903. And Simon Stackpool from Nantwich in Cheshire is a top sports photographer after going to World Cups, Olympics and hundreds of football matches. Simon says he has to remind himself that it's actually a job. Find out more, bbc.co.uk/local news, or have a look on the BBC News app. Now, the North West's busiest railway station reopened this morning after being closed for 9 days due to engineering work. Network Rail says that the £8 million project has modernised the track, the signals and the points outside Manchester Piccadilly. Passengers, of course, have been unable to travel to London without taking a bus to Stockport or joining the massive queue of taxis at Stockport Station. Let's find out more from Phil Cunliffe.
It's like piecing together a giant model railway set. Track panel by track panel, Network Rail completed the replacement of rails and signals on the approach to Piccadilly overnight.
All the people who have been working on this job for 9 days have either been out every single day, every single night, on top of the structure, which is a huge viaduct running out to the station, in all sorts of weather conditions.
We've done 5,500 tonnes of ballast, 9 kilometres of signalling cables, and that's all there to make sure that we've got reliable infrastructure.
Renewing the railway is really important, because if we don't renew it, you don't get your journeys as safe and don't get your journeys as reliable.
Apart from a signalling problem at Stockport on day one, Network Rail say the engineering project went well, with trains back running just after 5 a.m. today.
According to the Yellow Information Board, all today's services are running as timetabled. Now that's a far cry from last Monday when 12 of the 14 platforms were closed and passenger numbers had dropped by 2/3. Now that caused a lot of inconvenience and disruption, yet Network Rail insists that doing the engineering work during 9 days successively during half-term was the correct thing to do.
It's been awful because instead of it being 20 minutes home, it's an hour and plus home, which impacts on your work day and everything else.
We thought that we were going to be delayed, but we found that they were back on at 6 o'clock this morning, so we're really pleased.
I wanted to come from Doncaster Piccadilly last week, but I wasn't able to, so I had to then go to Manchester Victoria, which is more money and it's more expensive.
The track inside the station will need upgrading in the future, but Network Rail say the upgraded section to the south could last for up to 50 years. Phil Cunliffe, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester Piccadilly.
That was Phil Cunliffe reporting on all the work being done at Manchester Piccadilly. Let's turn our thoughts to sport. Ian is here. A weekend of drama at both ends of the Premier League, Ian, and the drama's not over yet.
No, it's not over
Unless
yet.
it's a really dull match at Everton, Manchester United.
Yeah, it could be rubbish, couldn't it, frankly? But Everton do host Manchester United tonight, Rog, as you rightly say. A win for the Blues would move them up a place to 8th in the Premier League, while 3 points for United would take them into the top 4. More on that in a second. Elsewhere, Manchester City start the week 5 points behind leaders Arsenal, but with the game in hand. City here beat Newcastle 2-1 on Saturday, with both goals from Nico O'Reilly.
I think it's a big progress on certainly on recent seasons, and we've probably got to a points total a little bit quicker than maybe we have done in the past. But we want to keep it going. We don't want to let it slip now. We want to keep going.
We're not getting too carried away now all of a sudden after a few weeks. I think it's we know where we're at. We're in a good position. I'd still like to be in a better position, mind you, but we're in a good position and we're positive. I think we should be, you know. I think there's a lot of good things to take.
Yes, there are, Michael. On Friday, Blackburn boosted their championship survival chances by beating Preston North End, whose playoff hopes took a knock. In League One, 2 goals from Kyle Wotton helped Stockport County beat Wigan Athletic 4-2 to keep alive their slim automatic promotion hopes. County are at Burton Albion tomorrow night, while playoff contenders Bolton Wanderers and Blackpool fought out a 2-2 draw, which means the Seasiders are now 3 points clear of the relegation zone.
2 brilliant football clubs going toe-to-toe. That's what football is about, isn't it? So, yeah, a good game all in all. But we have to keep going. We have to keep moving forward. We've shown that we can match any team. I've said all along, if you kind of give us the ammunition, we can win football matches. And, yeah, I thought we're unlucky not to win.
In League Two, Crewe Alexandra really are back in the playoff hunt. Josh March scored what could prove to be the winner as Lee Bell's side won 2-1 at automatic promotion challenger Swindon. Oldham Athletic had an excellent 3-0 win at Gillingham, rounded off by Mike Fondop, while Barrow remain in relegation danger after throwing away a 2-0 lead to lose 3-2 at Fleetwood Town, who themselves are 14th in the table. Tranmere lost again, as did Salford City and Accrington, both of whom are back in action tomorrow night. In the Women's FA Cup 5th round, last year's runners-up Manchester United are out, but Manchester City are through, as are Liverpool here. They beat Everton 2-1 yesterday, thanks to Beata Olsen's winner. Finally from me, a bit of Super League, and the weekend began with a first win for Paul Rowley as St Helens head coach as they edged past the Lee Leopards by 20 points to 18. Jackson Hastings kicked the decisive penalty. Saints are at Catalan Dragons next, while Lee goes to Wigan Warriors on Thursday. And the Warriors have now won their first 2 matches, the latest a 34 points to 6 win over Hull FC. I mentioned Burnley there. A high-profile Burnley supporter is now on the sofa.
There is no higher-profile Burnley supporter.
Well, when Ian Fleming put that ball up his shirt, it reminded me of when I try these shirts on.
Ian, thanks very much indeed. Yeah, as Ian says, Tony's here, as you can see, and we're going to have the latest in our My Story series, looking into the stories behind some of your most treasured photographs. Tony Livesey of 5 Live fame here. And tonight it's about a building as well as people.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving all the photos everyone's sent in. If you mention the Eagle and Child pub to anyone in Huyton, or in fact the whole of Liverpool, there's a good chance they might refer to the Wild West. It has, or it did have, till it got burnt down, a reputation. However, thanks to photos sent to us by the regular John Burns, in 1983 it became the talk of the country for all the right reasons. Anyone fancy a pint? Let me take you to the Eagle and Child in Huyton. Although, well, the pub which stood over there, was less like cheers and more spilled beers, motorbikes being ridden through the lounge, rodent racing, and an ignominious end in the mid-90s when it burnt down, some say, due to an ill-thought-out indoor firework display. The Liverpool Echo named it as one of the toughest boozers in the city's history. This online comment sums it up nicely. I'm not saying it was rough, but once during the fighting, a pool match broke out. Here's what I imagine an afternoon session at the pub might have looked like. But to make sure, I've invited along some former regulars.
They had a bad reputation, but unbelievable. I think it was unwarranted because it was a fantastic place full of characters. There was that match. The Felix had two managers. He had one for the lounge and one for the bar.
Not even a cup final can prevent the Goodison Park spirit invading Wembley.
One of the former managers was this fella, Evertonian Eddie Kavanagh, who made himself known to the police during the 1966 FA Cup final.
Do you remember the mouse racing?
Yes.
Everyone had a bet on the mice, and they'd open the trap door and the mice would be like this, going this way, that way. But it was the first one to get to the other end. Everyone was betting on it. Had a real good laugh.
I had this drink on Sunday, and I got the taste. And they said, "You want to stay behind?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead." The stay behind lasted 3 days, and then we went home. My wife never divorced me, I'll never know.
3 days, he was a lightweight.
As ever in this series, it's not just about buildings, it's about people. Let's go back to 1983. In amongst all the madness, there was a piece of magic. The pub's Sunday football team became champions of England. So we've come to Jubilee Park now nearby where the boys used to play, and I thought we'd have a bit of a warm-up.
Have it!
Tommy, you were captain.
The lads we had in the team were unbelievable. All for one and one for all.
This is what I can't understand. How come you were all fit for it on a Sunday morning after a Saturday night at the pub?
It's just the way life was at the time. You had to stay out. Otherwise, if you went home early, you'd have a stinker the following day.
This is the photo that prompted today's visit. The Eagle and Child team plus fans before their 2-1 away win in the FA Sunday Cup final at Lee Chapel North. As you can imagine, after 40 years, not everyone is still with us.
My dad, he passed away when he was 36, so obviously won the cup, and I've been brought up on the folklore of all these lads. It's legendary all through Whiting. They're going to go down in history, and they still do to this day.
If the story's not passed on, it's lost, isn't it?
And the trophy itself is a thing of beauty. Yeah. Designed by the Shah of Iran. What happened to that?
Well, at the time, I don't know if it was because of the Eagle and Child, we had to put it in the local TSB bank. We couldn't have it on show unless it was for photographs of that.
And you've never seen it since?
Not only in photos.
Well, I haven't got it with me. I thought I'd give the symbolic Northwest Tonight Cup to these boys. It's not designed by the Shah of Iran, made in China. Yeah. Tommy, do you want that?
Yeah. Do you have to put it in the bank?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd fill it with champagne, but I can't afford to.
You would get a cardle out of that.
Well, you can have a shot. Yeah. Hang on, I've had an idea how we can make it look bigger. Just go over there for us for a sec. How's that, Tommy?
I'm fine.
Don't drop it. It's true, isn't it? Good memories always win.
It's like the European Cup.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a 3-day lock-in.
I know.
Some great memories.
I'd like to have gone to that pub. I'm not sure I would actually. No. We're having a great time following up all these photographs.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant. So many of you have been getting in touch with your photos. This one is from Susan Cattrall with her sister-in-law, also called Susan, in Malaga a couple of years ago. Now, the ladies not only shared a name, but also both met their husbands at the Nevada roller skating rink in Bolton. The stories in this series, a bit like life, don't always have a happy ending. This was their last picture together as Susan sadly passed away the following day. The other Susan, who sent it in, though, says she still loves it as it reminds her of how happy they were that day. It's great to be able to show these. This next picture is very 1960s, featuring children dressed up as cowboys and police officers. There's even a cowboy police officer. It's from Antonio Pacelli and was taken in Morecambe Bay near the swimming pool on the promenade. And finally, does anybody know which football ground this is? Graham Warner, who's in the middle with his brothers, says it was taken in the early 1960s and he's either, get this, Blackpool's Bloomfield Road, where they went on holiday, or Preston North End's Deepdale, where they stopped off en route. Can anyone help? Let us know or send your photos titled My Story to nwt@bbc.co.uk.
I am sure either a Preston fan or a Blackpool fan will know which ground that is.
I would have thought so.
Yeah. Tony, thank you very much. We really enjoyed it. Thank you. That email address that Tony gave, nwt@bbc.co.uk, is the same one, Molly, if you want your place on the weather map.
Yes, exactly the same email. So do let us know. A new week means a new place. See if you can spot it in a moment, but do email in and let us know if you would like to see where you live on the weather map. We are starting to see signs of spring now. A fair bit of brightness this morning, actually, and some blue skies, but gradually this afternoon we did start to see the clouds thicken up and we did have some rain arriving from the southwest, quite drizzly in nature. That is going to continue into this evening. Thank you very much for sending your photos in. Now, this week, it is going to be quite blustery out there. We will have some sunshine, not a lot, most of that coming tomorrow. We are going to have rain at times, but the main takeaway is the fact it is going to be very mild, unseasonably mild. We could even see around 15 degrees Celsius in the likes of Manchester on Wednesday because of those southerly to southwesterly winds. Tonight, though, that rain today is going to pep up for a period. It is going to become more widespread, but still quite light in nature. It will eventually clear away towards the northeast, and we will have temperatures down to around 7 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, it is going to be largely cloudy out there to start the day. We will start to see some brightness as we head towards the afternoon, mainly towards the east. I'd say the best of the sunshine, if you do get any, is mainly going to be towards the likes of Manchester, Merseyside. The further south you are, the more brightness you are going to get. But look at those temperatures, 14 degrees Celsius, and an improvement on Wednesday as well. A bit more cloudy, though, and a bit of rain in the west, but you cannot complain.
Thank you very much, Molly. Lindsay's emailed. She worked for the brewery that ran the pub with the Eagle and Child. She said they needed to replace more glasses there than anywhere else. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Night.